There's a couple of things that really piss me off when it comes to the UFC and when it comes to UFC fans. Hero worship. Hero worship. Basically, you take a guy who was once great, or maybe he was great in the last 5 to 10 years, but obviously in his last few fights, or whatever he's doing inside and outside of the cage, is not really living up to his true potential, or even to the name that he potentially had a few years back, but he's definitely not a superstar anymore. And of course, the guy that I'm talking about is Conor McGregor. Now, I really don't understand. Look, I mean, I can't even say his name because I'm so flustered by what I'm about to talk about. But why is it that guys like Chael Sonnen cannot accept the fact that he's not coming back? Conor McGregor screwed over Michael Chandler. He essentially ruined Michael Chandler's career because Michael Chandler, I mean, let's face it, he did well in Bellator, but then after the crossover to the UFC, it really didn't, it didn't go his way. Like, he fought all the major names, he was given all the chances, got his ass beat every single time, and so the only logical fight, and a perfect fight for Conor McGregor because they're pretty evenly matched in terms of skill level now. I think that if Michael Chandler tried to fight Conor McGregor like 10 years ago, it would be over. It wouldn't even be in a competition. But it's perfect for Michael Chandler if it was 2 years ago when they were supposed to fight versus Conor McGregor in his current condition now, okay? Conor McGregor hasn't done for the last 8 years. Now you guys are like, well, you know, like what do you like talking about? Like, you know, he fought a couple of times. He had a couple of wins. All right, check this out. His last legitimate victory, Eddie Alvarez in 2016. We move up the ladder. He doesn't fight for 2 years. He fights Khabib Nurmagomedov. We all know what happened there. Then he fights an old Donald Cerrone in 2020. Then in 2021 gets embarrassed by Dustin Poirier. That was their second fight of both of their careers. And then, of course, again, we know what happened in Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 3. Broke his leg, he broke his ankle, and that was the end of his foot, ankle, whatever you want to call it. Now, Dustin Poirier in the second fight, which is their rematch, completely obliterated him. I mean, he knocked him out. First time it's ever happened. And then in the next fight, he was setting him up to do the exact same thing, but Conor went in there fighting with an injury that he knew was going to be debilitating, but he did it anyway because of his ego. That was 2021. We're talking over 3 years ago because that was in July of 2021. It is 2024, and you're going to tell me that Chael Sonnen is still not giving the #1 most popular, powerful fighter right now in the UFC, the guy who should be, I mean, he should be promoted because of how much money that he's been making the UFC lately, and also himself. And I'm not talking about Sean O'Malley, who I love. I think he's great. I think he's a great self-promoter. I think he has the skills. You know, it was unfortunate it didn't go his way against Merab, but that'll be another video. And, well, you can check my video that I did earlier called The 5 Reasons Why Sean O'Malley Lost. 3 of them had to do with Herb Dean, but 2 of them definitely has to do with Sean O'Malley and his coach, Tim Welch, who I really also like, but it has to do with that 5th round. 5 reasons why he lost, but that's not what this video is about. We're talking about Conor McGregor and who the real superstar is in the UFC. It's Alex Pereira. Now let's look at Alex Pereira in the time that Conor McGregor has fought versus Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira came into the UFC in 2021. In 2021. It's now 2024. You know, you're talking in the last 3 years. He is the first person ever in the shortest amount of time to hold belts in 2 weight divisions. He is the reigning light heavyweight champion. He fights anyone at any time. And by the way, he stalked Israel Adesanya from kickboxing, forced Israel Adesanya to quit kickboxing because that was his last fight, gets knocked out, obliterated, and he already beat him once before that in a decisive victory. So really, he was already 2-0 at that point. Stalks him down, tracks him down, beats Sean Strickland first to set up that fight. Then he knocks out, TKOs, Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya, I applaud you. You came back. You obliterated him. It was great, but it's still 3-1. 2 belts in 3 years. One guy, like 0 MMA experience before that. Okay, he fought a couple of times in this thing called Jungle Fight, once in 2015 and twice in 2016, and then he took a little break. He fought in the LFA, and his record there basically, you know, when he first fought before he came to the UFC, he was 3-1. Great. His same record against Adesanya, by the way. But who did he fight? Let's see. He beats Israel Adesanya to get the belt, and then he loses. Fine. Then he moves up a weight class, beats Jan Blachowicz. Oh, you know, I wonder how he's going to do against wrestling. I mean, he got wrestled in that match, but he just survived, and he did everything correctly. He wins. Yuri Prochazka knocks him out with a fucking elbow. Jamal Hill, left hook of death. Yuri Prochazka, he knocked him out in the first round, got saved by the bell. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, go watch round 1 of Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira 2. He was knocked out. He didn't know where he was. Like, he went on his back as if he was going to play jiu-jitsu guard. And he's like, yes, come to me, come to me. He didn't know where the fuck he was. He stood up. He was walking to Alex's corner. You know, the ref had to send him back to his correct corner. And then, that's basically what happened in his last fight. That was in June. He's going to fight again next month. Okay? And he's fighting Khalil Rountree. You guys think Khalil Rountree has a chance? I'm going to say it again. This guy was a two division champion, not only in the UFC, but also in kickboxing. This is the guy who knocked out Israel Adesanya twice in his career. I mean, Israel Adesanya is one of the best ever to ever fight in kickboxing and to ever fight in the UFC. One of the best MMA fighters ever to walk the planet. They're both currently active. One more active than the other, but it doesn't matter. But you guys think that Khalil Rountree has a chance against, when is Pereira going to get his respect? Why isn't Chael Sonnen talking about Alex Pereira? And by the way, the way that he says his name, he's doing it on purpose. He says Pereira. Because this is what he does. He has what's called shtick. Shtick is an old word for gimmick, which now people are coming back, I guess, because TikTok, I don't know, they probably went to their fucking class one day and then some kid on TikTok started writing the word shtick, and I'm seeing shtick all over the place. Shtick just means gimmick. His gimmick now, Chael Sonnen, is to deliberately mispronounce the names of fighters because he thinks it's funny. It's actually irritating. He knows the way that he should be saying these names, and he does it with a straight face, and he's being very sarcastic. It's not even funny because it's Pereira. It's very easy to say his name, Pereira. It's not Pereira. The same way that he says Cyril Gane. Listen, he says surreal, as if everything is surreal. He started off by saying cereal, and then he gets this other guy from the Jackson podcast. His name is Barry Diggy Diggy, or he calls himself Bear, because when he was born, he was hairy. And he says, Alex Pereira, Uncle Chael. Anyway, I digress. But, so, Conor McGregor. Why is Chael Sonnen so far up Conor McGregor's ass? Because you are so far up Conor McGregor's ass. Because you still care about him. You know why? Because you see him as a personality. Even though he doesn't care. He's been hanging out with boxing and boxing whores, let's face it. He was at a bare knuckle event because he bought into the bare knuckle league, like one of these BKFC things, and he's basically trying to get attention there because he's an egomaniac. Doesn't even show up to the Sphere, doesn't show up to UFC 300, lies to Michael Chandler for the last 3 years. Chandler finally, thank you, Michael Chandler, for making the right decision and finally calling Conor out. You should have did it a couple of years ago. And Michael Chandler was so just angry and pissed off directly at me and other people who were telling him, dude, we don't hate you. We don't think that you're a bad fighter, but we think you're stupid for really believing that Conor McGregor is going to fight you. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He's not a fighter. Conor McGregor used to be a fighter. He used to be a guy who wanted to fight in the cage and get hurt and hurt people back. He's not that anymore. He wants to be a movie star with that failed Roadhouse, which was absolutely atrocious. I watched it. I mean, it was terrible. It was like a B movie. It was like a B. It was like one of those classic movies from like the 80s and 90s that they would put direct to TV. It's not even worthy of Netflix. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And now he's involved, like I said, with the boxing, the BKFC. I mean, he was at the freaking Anthony Joshua event, but he doesn't show the respect to the Sphere. To show up to the Sphere because I'd rather go fight. I'd rather go show up to BKFC where they're going to interview me. You're a maniac. And then he talks shit after Michael Chandler finally announces, hey, I'm done with this guy. He goes, oh, you saw me wrestling and you're afraid. Chandler's not afraid of you. You're afraid of him. That's why you ran from him for like 3 years, okay? So, whatever. The warship has to stop with Conor McGregor. I give him all due respect that he deserves. He is a UFC legend. He is a UFC warrior. You can go back and watch all of his fights. As a matter of fact, that Habib Nurmagomedov fight was not really decisive. There were moments where he showed glimpses of, hey, man, I'm Conor McGregor. I'm not going to let you do to me. But he made it to the fourth round. I think that was one of his best fights. Two of his worst fights ever were the last two fights against Dustin. It was atrocious what he did to Cowboy because at that point everyone was doing that to Donald Cerrone, so I don't really even count that. But and then of course everyone forgets about Nate Diaz and the sleeper hold, puts him to sleep for the first time ever. And then in the rematch, all Conor McGregor did was just like run around. I'm getting congested because I'm so tired of the air being filled with the UFC fan worship, hero worship bullshit for Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Definitely deserves to be one of the best ever. He's not going to be a major draw unless you fans are going to pay $100 for his pay-per-view because he's going to demand a lot of money for whoever the hell he fights, which he's not fighting in 2025. Just don't believe it. The guy already retired. Trust me. He'd rather take steroids and lift weights, which is fine. He made enough money. He has a beautiful family. I think he's married. He might be married. He might be engaged. I have no idea what the situation is. Drives cars, flies all over the place, travels the world. Fantastic. I applaud you. Stop teasing the fans who still care about you. I cared about you in the past. I don't care about you anymore. I'm too busy watching Sean O'Malley and Alex Pereira and even Dustin Poirier, who, to me, that guy is like the modern Conor McGregor because he doesn't talk like Conor, but he gets it done and he loves to fight. And please, Dustin, again, another video. Don't listen to your wife. Don't listen to your beautiful little daughter. Don't listen to your mother. These women want you to stay home and have a miserable life. No uno más. Have tres más. Have cuatro más. Have unlimited más. Fight until you decide it's time to get out of there. But Conor McGregor, he's done. Accept it. Stop being a casual fan. Start giving Alex Poatan Pereira the respect he deserves as the #1 fighter in the UFC right now.